Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Here's the third episode of the SB2U Vindicator build, the John Morgan built airplane. So just a few updates, nothing too crazy for this week. Like I said before, I've been on travel for work, so I'm only home Saturday and Sunday pretty much for the last month and for the next couple weeks, so I don't get to spend a whole lot of time on it, but thankfully it's pretty far along, so I think we're in good shape to finish it by the event in September. So just some boring stuff today. I did finished up all the spackle, and I did the water-based polyurethane on the whole airplane. Did a few coats just to get it nice and sealed up. So we're ready to sand it and get it ready for paint. So next weekend I'll be painting it more than likely. So. And the biggest update for this week is this sweet 3D printed radial engine. It's not on there permanent. There we go. Wade Joe's 3D printed this for us. Wade is a good friend of John's, a good friend of mine. Super cool guy, always very helpful. And he offered to 3D print a 14-cylinder radial for me. So I got him the dimensions, and it ended up being just absolutely perfect. I mean, even the opening for the motor is perfect. But basically, the way this attaches is right there. So the motor mount is a circular piece of wood. I've done some cutouts for cooling air. You see right there and up in these other corners. But this was a perfect circle before. And it was almost the exact size of the inside of this motor. So all I did was grind it down a little bit, and then it slipped right over. I've already drilled it for a screw on the top and the bottom to hold it still, but it's nice and snug. And then, like I said, I did some cooling holes for air to pass through the motor, because the air comes through here, but if there's nowhere for it to go, it's not going to go through the motor. So even though this is a low-powered airplane, it can still get hot because it won't be going very fast. So you need to try and have decent cooling. So anyways, I'm not sure who did the file for this motor. I'm not sure whose design it is, but it's pretty nicely done. Very detailed. And Wade did all these spark plug wires, or those might be fuel injectors. I don't know. They're probably just plug wires. But, or this could even be like a ventilation tube. But anyways, Wade did all those, put it together. I still have to paint it and detail it. But yeah, it turned out great. It looks awesome with the cowling on. So, and one thing, I mentioned it on the thread, but one thing that always kind of bothers me is when people put radial engines in airplanes, they always put them right at the face of the cowling, and there's not a single airplane in existence that I know of that has a motor that way. Maybe close, but so they need to be sunk in a little bit, and I think the way this is spaced out with the motor and everything, I think it turned out really good. So huge thank you to Wade for taking care of that for me. And yeah, it's actually not looking too bad. Like I said before in the other videos, this being a super lightweight build, try not to get carried away with the bodywork and stuff, just because it adds lots of weight. So I won't be doing primer on this, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to sand it first real light. I'm not going to get crazy because I don't want to score the surface too much, because then it'll absorb a lot of paint. So I'm just going to kind of lightly scuff it with like some 400 maybe. And then this airplane, the one that I'm modeling, was originally all over gray. So it was gray top and bottom all the way around, same color gray. And what they ended up doing, probably in the field, was they painted the top surface this bluish gray color. So the documentation I found said that that bluish gray top color was probably pretty thin, probably just applied at the field, you know, haphazardly just thrown on there basically. And so a lot of the paint, and being stationed in the islands with no hangers out in the sun, it faded and chipped away and things of that nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually paint the whole thing in that gray color, and then I'm going to spray the top color after that and use that base color also to imitate some of the fading. And then I was talking about this with my friend Scott. I'm also going to do something else I've never tried before, but this is a cool way to try it. I'm going to spray like chrome paint over some of the metal surfaces, like the cowling, the roots of the wings, maybe the sides of the fuselage where they were metal on the real one. And then after it's all painted, I'm going to take some sandpaper and rub away, not everything, but certain areas where you might get paint rubbed through or excessive paint marring. So I'm going to give that a shot. From the pictures I've seen of these things stationed on Midway, these things were beaters, man. They were literally using surgical tape to tape up the fabric on the fuselages on these things. So that's the level of care that was given to the appearance of the airplanes by the ground crew. So I mean, obviously the appearance really didn't matter. It was all about functionality. So they pretty much did whatever they had to get the airplane back in the air. So that's what this is going to look like. It's going to be faded, paint chipped, paint worn off, just all kinds of weathering is going to go on here. Should be really cool. I'm looking forward to the weathering on this airplane because I don't so much enjoy painting, but I do enjoy the weathering aspect. So, and one other interesting thing that I noticed while I've been working on this thing, and you can see it in the camera, you see these little ridges. So that is from the foam that John used. And ironically, these airplanes were not entirely fabric covered, but a lot of the airplane was fabric covered. So this whole panel from here and back would have been fabric covered. And this ribbed surface looks just like the fabric, which was really cool. And on the fuselage, kind of the same thing. This whole aft section was all fabric covered. And obviously the flight controls were fabric covered. Now, I won't be able to physically imitate that, but I'm going to try some airbrush tricks to make it look like it's got the stringers in here and the fabric covering. So anyways, I'm excited to do all the weathering. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this week's update. As you can see, it's a big model. I don't know if you guys understand, but it's a very nice size model. And I was wrong before I said it was 86 inches. It's actually 84 inches. But yeah, I mean, there's my Bearcat right there. That's got a 70cc twin in it. This is actually bigger than my Bearcat, and it's going to weigh 1/3 the weight. So it should fly really good. So anyways, that's it for this week. Next week should be the fun video when I start painting. So check back in next week for a more exciting episode. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. And we'll see you next week.